Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, your agent of animated awesome, X7, the host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Today we're going to look at a movie from, well, a very short movie. It's like 2 episodes. But anyway, it's a short movie from 2014 that I never heard about until recently, called JLA Adventures, Trapped in Time. It's just a standalone movie. So you see, as you see in this opening card here, very much challenge of the Super Friends sort of thing. Legion of Doom versus a relatively interesting version of the Justice League, along with 2 wannabe Legionnaires. Of course, they were Legionnaires in my time, but go figure. So, without further ado, please like, share, subscribe, vote in a poll, and leave a comment. And wherever you're watching or listening, please watch or listen for a couple more minutes longer than you normally would. It'd really help the algorithm, and I'd appreciate it. Grab yourself a big old bowl of hummus of perfection, and let's get ready to talk about this movie. So the basic plot is that good old Lex here, Lex Luthor, is the leader of, this is just the beginning, the Legion of Doom here. Here's 4 of the members, plus Lex, the leader. Black Manta, Solomon Grundy, who is to Hulk levels of strength at this point in time. Gorilla Grodd, who I never knew got along with Lex, but apparently does. And a very oddball version of the Cheetah. So go figure. And Lex is going to melt the polar ice caps, and then he'll be able to take over the world with these lasers that aren't on the tops of sharks. They're just lasers from space, kind of like a Death Star. But they're cool looking. So there's Superman, and the whole movie is kind of predicated on the fact that it's Superman's Justice League, and yet. But it's for kids, so it's fine. And it's nice to see something that's not so bat-centric, as much as I love Batman. And, especially Diedrich Bader as Batman. Superman here is Peter Jessup. And he does a good job. Everyone does a good job here. So there's Diana, and that she is voiced by Gray Delisle Griffin, who I believe is Daphne, sometimes credited. And, that's the one and she also is Martin Prince, and she has replaced the Russie Taylor as the voice of Martin Prince and Sherry and Terry. So yeah, she's been Daphne Blake for a long time, both starting in the Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. Anyway, the big 3 here, there's the Flash, who's he voiced by? Come on. Jason Sisback. And he does the taxi driver as well. We'll leave that alone. There's Arthur, King of Atlantis, otherwise known as Aquaman. And as someone who's recently started swimming again, I realized why I liked Aquaman. He's Liam O'Brien. And there's Batman, Diedrich Bader, who was Batman in the most excellent Brave and the Bold. And Robin, who is voiced by Jack Desana. And he does a good job of sounding like Casey Kasem as Robin. And there's Cyborg, of course, because he's now a member of both the Teen Titans and the Justice League, but I like Cyborg. Avery Waddell is Cyborg. And there's Solomon Grundy, does he even have, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who also voices Black Manta. So they're up in space to stop the lasers. Batman is, Robin's annoyed because Batman won't let him do anything. Same old story. It's really kind of odd to hear Diedrich Bader as a more, not sincere, but a more, standard Batman instead of from Brave and the Bold. But he's pretty good. This is Toyman in his weirdo spaceship. Let's see, Toyman is voiced by Tim Gibbs, who also voices Jonathan Kent. And we'll find him later on. Because if we're adventures in time, trapped in time, well, we're going to have time travel. There's Diana, and one kick wipes out the cheetah. Boom. What's the point of having super speed I never understood how the cheetah could be any kind of danger to Wonder Woman in the comic books. Now, in the movie, she did a good job because she wanted to be like Diana, so that made a little more sense. There's Mr. Freeze, not played by Otto Preminger. Wild. And he's kind of the catalyst for everything that goes along here. The heroes do zap the lasers, but one of them freezes Lex, although they think he's dead. So then we fade out here, and if I could do a fade, I'll try to do that in the show. And we go into the future, 1,000 years. It's kind of generic and very vague, but you couldn't say 2963 like they did, or 2959 when the Legion started. Superman there is not Superboy, but Superman is the inspiration for the League. And we have two wannabe Leaguers. They're haven't been admitted yet because they're either too young, although Dawnstar acts like she's very old, and Val Amor as the Karate Kid. He has Unagi, literally, and he also has the Karnak ability, and not Karnak the Magnificent, but Karnak the Shatterer from Marvel Comics Inhumans, to spot the weak flaw in any substance. Dawnstar can shoot solid light and has healing powers. Mostly they're the same. Val, both of them were Legionnaires. I don't know much about Dawnstar. Karate Kid was created by Jim Shooter, both art and the character. Dawnstar was Paul Levitt's, and it's right here, Mike Grell. So they got a good pedigree here, but neither of them get credit. Those creators don't get credited in the credits. I said credit a lot, didn't I? All right, and back over here, there's Lex, frozen, and of course, Karate Kid is a hothead and breaks him free. Ta-da! Founder of the Legion of Doom, and then he was thawed in 2819 or something, one of the third warmings or something. So, and freeze ray. I am Gru. And he releases the Time Trapper, who's bound to this, hourglass. So anyone who knows the Time Trapper knows Lex is playing with fire, but Lex is too arrogant to realize that because he doesn't know the Time Trapper. Time Trapper was portrayed by Corey Burton, who also did Captain Cold. Corey has done a lot of, just Brainiac, and just go figure. Some guy named Count Dookie for Star Wars. So Dawnstar hesitates and decides that she won't zap Lex with her light darts and freeze Karate Kid. Now, back in the present, 2014, of course, January 21st, 2014, the movie runs 52 minutes. We're going to try to keep the review faster than that. Solomon, Grundy, and Bizarro are providing some comedic humor because neither of them are that bright. But once again, Grundy has now become Hulk level of strength, which, he was not. He was very strong, but you couldn't really hurt him because he was dead. And, Bizarro, he am not Superboy or Superman. Oh, look who it is. Now, right here, Wonder Dog is right here, but I didn't grab that screen fast enough. But, neither of them are paying attention to each other. And fortunately, I don't know if Wonder Dog had a cape on or not, but I still like Wendy. Marvin, Marvin kick rocks, really. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's not great. So here's the cab driver, and they're taking him to the Hall of Justice. Back in the Hall of Justice. I can't do a Ted Knight imitation to save my life, but his bombastic delivery in Super Friends is a little over the top. But that was before he was on Mary Tyler Moore, when his bombastic delivery as Ted Baxter was amazing. And so Dawnstar and Karate Kid break in, and Hothead Robin immediately fights with both of them. So this goes on for a while, and finally Dawnstar's had enough, and then so have the Trinity. So Batman's telling somebody to explain. Wonder Woman has the smart idea. They'll use the lasso of truth. And they tell him they have to believe him because they can't lie. And Dawnstar claims she's never lied in her in her long existence. Now, she was 16 in the comic books when she got inducted into the Legion because they were teenagers, because they all were kids and gals and women and or girls, Saturn Girl, Lightning Lass, Karate Kid, Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, only like Wildfire, Timberwolf, and Shrinking Violet didn't have kid in their names at the time, which was short-sighted, but they were appealing. They didn't know. Who knew? And it's the Legion of Doom. You'll never get the best of us, Ole Anderson. Only the worst of us. Can't do a Paul Ellering imitation either, but anyone who knows the Road Warriors knows what I'm talking about. Those early days in World Championship Wrestling from Georgia. Saturday nights, 5:05 Eastern Time. 6:05. 6:05, pardon me. It was 4:05 here in Fossil Bed. And the Flash eating, and that looks a little like Shaggy, but Shaggy wouldn't have a job like that ever. The Flash, once again, is voiced by... Who is the Flash voiced by? Fred Tascasiore is Lex Luthor. The Flash is Jason Sisbeck. Yes, we discussed that. I think we caught everybody. Travis Willingham is Gorilla Grodd. Tom Gibbous is Toyman. And Erica Luttrell is the Cheetah, and Martha Kent. That's everyone. Oh, Michael David Donovan is He Am Bizarro. Canadian voice actor and director, eh? All right, so Lex has now gone back in time with the time traveler, and he's got a mission. He's going to stop the Justice League from forming. He's gone back into the present from the future, and he's going to send these vile villains to the past to stop Superman from being adopted by the Kents, and that way the Justice League would never form without Superman. Even though, why would the other heroes not form? So this didn't make any sense. It's time travel. If you think about it too often, you'll go cross-eyed. Thank you, Austin Power. And Cyborg does get to say the line. He wants to say the line, "We're not in Kansas anymore," but they're in Kansas. Although Kansas is a little flatter than that, a lot flatter than that. That looks more like the rolling hills of Ohio. But it's all right. Smallville might be further east than I would know. And there are the Kents with Super Baby, and they call him Super Baby the entire time, which makes me laugh because they did have comics about Super Baby with stories starring Super Baby, who spoke like how a 60-year-old man would think a baby might speak. So they go through this whole playing football with the baby, passing him from the villains. The villains grab him, the heroes grab him, back and forth and back and forth. I don't know what the hell Toyman is. Is he a puppet? What's animating him? It's freaky, and they could do a terrifying story about him if they wanted to. Finally, Bizarro grabs Super Baby and hucks him back into space. I like the way the ship looks, though. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's not your typical Kryptonian rocket. So he hucks him back into space, and Superman disappears, Batman and Robin disappear, Wonder Woman disappears, because there's no Justice League. But why would Superman's absence affect any of them? Once again. And so Val comes to his sense, finally realizes that it's pretty much his fault this is happening, and they leave. And then they figure out, before they figure it out. So here, that's Grundy with his Hulk levels of strength. And he looks a little large to be thrown around the Washington Monument. And Lex sends him out to destroy, the world is theirs, even though there have to be more superheroes out there. I mean, why I don't understand why they'd fade. Granted, again, this is not made for X amount, somebody who is of a certain vintage, such as your humble agent. But so Lex is mad at these three because they didn't come when he called, and he's going to get revenge on him. But they're looking for him because Lex now exists in two time frames: the one from the future, who's in the past, and the one that is in the present, and the one that's in the present who's frozen. Which, guess who breaks him out of there? Dawnstar and and Val, or Invisible Kid. Dawnstar brings him to life, which causes another paradox, and the Time Trapper makes future Lex disappear, which frees the Time Trapper, who decides he's going to remake the Earth in his own, well, however he wants to. But because Lex is gone, he couldn't send him back. Well, again, I'm going cross-eyed. All of our heroes are back. And that's a pretty sturdy Justice League, including if you count the Legionnaires or wannabe Legionnaires. But you got the Trinity and, Aquaman. So they have to figure out a way to stop a time traveler. And they all launch, and for some reason, they try to stop him physically while he's got his, while he's holding onto his hourglass, which is where his power comes from. That's the time vortex that's sucking things up into it. Robin saves Batman. Oh, and then Aquaman is using his telepathic signals, which are the same ones they've been using since 1965, 66. And the Yamamoto, that doesn't look like any spaceship, or even a cruiser, for a battleship for that matter, but maybe it's headed to outer space. And if I knew more about this cartoon, I would know who they were fighting, but I don't. But Aquaman summons up some big help, and it's listed as a Kraken in the movie, and it's a giant octopus, you morons. It's just beside myself. Not everything is a Kraken, or a Kraken, if you want the real pronunciation. Flash is racing around to cool off the lava, and the three of the heroes are trying to save the people from getting sucked into the vortex, and he's in Hawaii. There's the Time Trapper's real face. Why does he have fangs? I don't know if I've ever seen it in the comic book, but they weren't trying to scare kids to death back then either, were they? There's Batman saying, "Get the," and let's see, once again, the catalyst. It's always the bat. And he's telling him to get the hourglass, and then they all the big three get to use the hammers of justice on the time trapper. See, at least one hammer of justice. And Diana moves so fast I couldn't get a good screen grab, and just belts him, and then Superman punches him, and they send him back. They pick it up, turn it over, he's back in there. The Legionnaires, wannabe Legionnaires, go home, and all is good, right? All is fine with the world. Now, Superman's thinking he forgot something. Oh, there's Lex. Let's go put him in Blackgate Prison. So at least he saved his life. He didn't let him sit up there. They could have let him freeze. And they're all like, well, we're done. And Grodd says, no, we're not. We'll reform. And now we know stuff about the future, etc., blah, blah, blah. Our two miscreant wannabe heroes are back, and they're humbled, and they're going to put the hourglass back, except, dun, 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 Lex is taken over. Now, it doesn't look like he's got a pretty happy face on there, but, he does have the falcon, or the eagle. Maybe he's a good guy. Maybe they went to Earth 3, where Lex is a good guy, and they're not on whatever Earth this was, 2014. The world will never know, because I don't think there's a sequel to this, and there probably shouldn't be. I mean, they go back, so it ends with the kids going back in time to fix things, but they're just going to make it worse again. I think the Time Trapper did this to him on purpose, because they said, take us home, and they didn't say back to our own future, because I believe with time travel, I believe your own past is immutable. You may change it, but it splits off into a different timeline. You can't go back to the new timeline. You have to go back to your timeline. Please read Marvel Team Up number 50, when Ben Grimm goes back to give his old self a cure that would fix him, which has unintended consequences when Galactus shows up. Anyway, so it's a fun movie. It's 52 minutes. There's your credits there that I just told everyone about. Here are the credits. The big three get named. Aquaman gets named. Cyborg, but neither of the Legionnaires do. I mean, I know Jim Shooter is kind of persona non grata in a lot of places. He's always very nice to me the times I've met him. And I don't know what Paul Levitz did, but I don't know. This was it. I think there was one more, and I couldn't find it, and I wasn't going to pop the DVD back in and fast forward it to the end. So that's our review here. It's a fun movie. It was like $10. was worth it. It's no Justice League or Justice League United or even Brave and the Bold and Scooby Doo, but it's fun and there's some fun moments in it, and some Wendy and Marvin show up. We don't have to put up with Wonder Dog, and we're back. There's our obviously homage to the Challenge of the Super Friends, with many of the same villains here, I believe. In fact, they all might be there. I don't know if Grundy was in it. Sue me for not ever having watched it. I did kind of watch it, but I'd lost interest. It was the late 70s. Other things were happening then. So, my fellow agents, this is X7. And just remember, if you do think too much unless you're a Time Lord, don't even try to figure out most time travel stories. So, until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off. And I forgot to push the music button. Let me try that again. Until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.